Welcome to the show. Today we have a good friend of mine, Bridget Carroll, who is an incredible business owner and dietitian. And I can't wait for you guys to hear her story of building an empire in literally 1 year's time, going from like working for someone else to building almost a seven-figure business in 365 days. We're going to hear all about it today. Let me tell you about her. Bridget is a dietitian, business coach, and founder of the first ever personalized gut health supplement company called Gut Personal. I have to sing it. Let's gut personal, personal. Bridget also helps empower other women in wellness in her aligned mastermind and one-on-one business coaching to create the business of their dreams through money mindset work, tearing down limiting beliefs, and encouraging them to invest in themselves and their business. Love that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joy. I'm so excited to be here with you. I've actually toured your beautiful home, so it's funny to see it on in this type of way.
Yeah, you're like, I know that there's more in that room that she is not showing that still needs to be put away.
Secrets, all secrets.
So congratulations on your company. And I know you have the magnesium that I take every single night, which is incredible, which I love. But let's talk about this incredible achievement that you've done, which is literally deciding to become an entrepreneur, work for yourself, and hit, we were just talking before the podcast, $700,000 in your first year of business. Okay, how does that even happen? First of all, everyone on this podcast right now is like, what? How does that happen? So can you walk us through a little bit of what that looked like?
Yeah. So I think a really important thing that I've always done in my life is work on the belief of myself. So before I quit my job, I hired a business and mindset coach. That was back in April of 2020. So I knew something was wrong in my life. I knew I was unhappy, and I realized it was the people that I was working for. I didn't feel valued, all of these things. And I hired a coach, and for a month and a half, we worked through a lot of my limiting beliefs. We worked through, the strategy of my business, and it all felt super aligned. And started my business June 1st, and my first month in business was $42,000. And I didn't know that until 4 months later, because I didn't even know how to look at my books. I was just so in alignment and so in belief that I was changing women's lives. And at the time, I was really working just with one-on-one gut health clients. I'm a functional medicine dietitian, so helping women who are so frustrated with their gut health and giving them a lot of answers, and they were telling their friends. So that's how I started.
So that tells me a couple of things. Number one, you had an awareness to yourself and things that you needed help with before you ever thought about becoming an entrepreneur, which is huge. Yeah. Number two, you definitely knew exactly who you were here to help, and you knew how to translate that into their language, because having your first month in business produce $42,000 in sales means you talked to people in a language they understood, and they said, I need what she has. And a lot of people struggle with that, especially when it comes to social media or marketing themselves. So I'm guessing you had practice from that from the years before working for someone else, or where did you really learn like the language of your people?
Well, I was that person. So when I was an undergrad, I was studying nutrition, but I was always bloated and couldn't go to the bathroom literally my entire life. I had migraines, lots of weight gain, thyroid issues. And all the doctors were saying is like, you're fine. Like your thyroid levels are okay. And thank God I had a mom who like fought for me in my health at that time. But it was so mind boggling that like, how am I studying nutrition? How am I the healthiest eater? Yet I feel the worst out of all of my girlfriends. And it pushed me into functional medicine, which is totally different from conventional medicine or nutrition. It's much more holistic and gets to the root cause. And so I was that person. And that's why I had so much purpose and passion when first starting my business. And I knew the lingo, not only working with clients, but I was that client. So I don't think I had a lot of strategy around my messaging at all. And I somewhat still don't in my business, because I speak from the heart. You know what I mean? I speak from experience. I speak to that woman. Yeah.
And this goes into something that I always talk with people about, which is you were a product of what you were selling. As in, you were so confident in your belief of yourself and helping change women's lives because you knew to like your soul, I have changed, right? So if I can do this, you can too. And I think a lot of people struggle with that belief. You said, you know, you worked on belief in yourself. Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with having that level of confidence to tell people, if you sign up with me, I guarantee your life will change. Partially because they haven't fully experienced that change themselves. And partially because they don't have the experience yet. They haven't experienced helping other people change. And I think that is something that you had that was to your benefit, was you already had years of working with other people and helping them change. Mm-hmm. So how do you become like that awesome product yourself of what you're selling? Because I think some people, especially when it comes to coaching, I know you work with coaches, so you know all about this. They've like kind of changed from coaching, but there's a difference between like, oh yeah, my life is somewhat changed, and like, no, like I am 100% a different person today, and like having that level of confidence.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like what you're willing to go all in with, right? Like it's interesting, like in the coaching space, which you and I both are in, like helping business owners. It's like there are those clients that we have that put a toe in, and there are those clients that jump all the way in, commit to themselves, and call their shot. And my belief is that if you go all in, you call your shot, and you work on the beliefs that are, you know, your subconscious and the beliefs that are kind of screwing you, then there's no way you don't fail unless you're fully out of alignment and you're making decisions from your ego. But like, there's no way you don't fail. But if you put one toe in with any coaching, you're not going to get the results. I have clients all the time. We get on discovery calls and they're like, didn't work with that coach. And my question to them is like, well, did you go all in on what they were saying, or did you just like dip your toe in the water?
Correct. How does someone know if they're actually all in? Because I also think some people tell themselves they are.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good point. I mean, I'd love to hear your perspective on this. Like, I just got off a call with a client who was like, oh, I feel nauseous right now. Like, I'm so nervous, and all of these things are coming up for me. And I was like, well, let me ask you this. Does this feel like it's in alignment and it feels like a hell yes, like from your authentic self? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so then this nausea, this feeling inside of you, this nervousness, is that you're jumping off a cliff. You're doing something that you've never done. And like, that's a really, good sign, I think.
Yeah, totally. Well, and we've talked before about investments and how investments, I think, are people committing to going all in, right? Like you can't skip that scary investment part, because if you do, you won't have gone all the way in, and it will prevent you from growing the belief that you need to have that confidence to say, I can change your life. So giving people the gift of investing a large amount of money in themselves that scares them, good. That means that you are actually going all in, and that will give you the belief and confidence you need in order to sell yourself. Like if I remove that from you, you won't actually make it in your business because you won't have grown that belief and confidence to sell yourself.
Absolutely. And I know, you have a membership. Like that's also a very important investment too. Like it doesn't have to be the $35,000, $50,000 investments you and I make in ourselves, but like also allow the small investments to change you. Allow that monthly membership. Allow that discussion with a coach to change you, and it will. If you are in belief that, nothing will change me. This is how I always am, or whatever, and lack mindset, then you'll stay there.
Yeah. And talking about going all in and like markers to look for going all in. I think if you are truly going all in, instead of just telling yourself that you're all in, you will be willing to do pretty much anything that your coach suggests, no matter how uncomfortable, and you will be willing to have faith in what they're telling you to do, even if you disagree, even if you think, oh, maybe I should do it this way or whatever. I know for me personally, it's always served me, right? When I've had like faith in what I'm being told, as opposed to what I think, because I hadn't done it before. I should listen to someone who has, right?
Absolutely. I mean, right when you were saying the beginning part of that, I was like, oh, I have to honor you because I see you and Peter. We have the same business coach, business mentor, Chris Harder. And I swear, out of anyone in our 25 person group, like you and Peter go all in on his recommendations. And it's almost like without fear. And I watch you guys sometimes and I'm like, shit, yeah, look at them go at this new thing. And you guys are really successful, I think, because you've been able to say, yep, we're going to go for this. We're going to try it out. This feels really good. And, you know, learn along the way.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. That's so kind of you. So back to you. All right. You went all in. You decided to commit. And that first month in business, how many clients did you sign up? They gave you $42,000.
I think it was about, well, I had some clients come over from the previous company that I was working for, but they were paying me like, I was taking insurance at this time. So they were paying like $200 an hour, and I was adding on $100 membership fee. So not much. Oh my gosh, let's see. I had a couple pays in full, probably like 6 to 7 new clients.
That's amazing. So that tells me also that you valued your services. You valued yourself. You had no problem charging a good price for that. What gave you that confidence to be able to charge those kinds of numbers? Because I think, again, a lot of people start, they're like, I can't actually charge that amount of number, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, you've got to be around people. This is something that's always helped me up level in my business. You've got to be around people who are already doing it. You know what I mean? Like a similar space to you. So whether that's getting into a mastermind or getting into a group of just expansive women. So for example, I had 2 of my best friends were already functional medicine dietitians doing what I was doing, changing lives, and they were charging, you know, $1,500 a month. So it was easy for me to just say, okay, they're doing this, I can too. And I think I started out at like $1,000 a month for my coaching. But then I've allowed it to very much change in the last month and a half, or oh my golly, year and a half. It's like anytime that I am feeling not in alignment with my prices anymore, I allow them to change. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like for business coaching right now, I charge $5,000 a month. You know, a year and a half ago, I was charging $1,000 a month. And so I know the services that I provide right now, it's business coaching, they change people's lives. And also I value the hell out of my time. So I will not burn out. I will not work to death. So I want those clients that value my time almost as much as I do.
So I love that you're saying that you want a different pool of clients, because when people think about up-leveling and changing their prices, they always go to who would even pay that? Like, is there anybody out there that would pay that? And my thought back to them is there's always a client at every price point. You're just deciding to get into a different pool, right? It's not a question of do the pools exist? They do. Maybe you just haven't been aware of them because you haven't gotten in them yet. So when you've decided to up level and change your price, what have you done in order to allow you to get into a new pool? Because part of getting into a new pool means you have to be different, right? Like you have to match the pool that you want to fish in, or the pond that you want to fish in, if we want to say that. So what have you done to up level yourself so that you can actually attract new fish in a new pond?
Oh, girl, it comes back to that mastermind, being in that group of people that are so inspiring to just be around. Our conversations are different. Like someone who's making 0 to 10K in their business, the conversation they're having with their friends versus a 7-figure business owner is completely different. And so when I surround myself with a lot of people, I up level, and then I am better able to help those people in, that are 2 steps behind me, that are making $25,000 a month in their business, and they want to scale to $500,000. So it also took, though, letting go of those people who wouldn't be able to work with me, if that makes sense. Like when I was $2,000 a month for business coaching, I attracted a lot of new business owners and that were not making a lot of money yet in their business, 0 to 10K. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just truly don't believe that was my zone of genius, helping out those women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Being in a mastermind, being around people that are doing that will automatically expand you. Did you find yourself changing your approach or changing your branding or changing how you spoke about things, right? Or anything like that in order to like be in this new pond?
Honestly, it took a lot of self-worth work. And, for me, that's breath work, which I know you do with your clients. That is doing daily hypnosis meditation. It's also, I think, a feeling that I feel is like, I think sometimes when I was up leveling, I felt almost guilt and like, for whatever it was, for what I charged or different things like that. But now I feel so in my worth, and I don't dictate external factors to affect how I feel about myself to a point. We always have those days where the external affects how we feel. But like, if I have a client say no to working with me as a business coaching client, or if I have an investor say no for my new company, Gut Personal, it doesn't affect me as much as it used to, or even at all, because my belief is that not only do I want myself to be in alignment and in my authenticity, I want everyone else to feel like it too.
Totally. Totally. I love that you described, I'm so in my worth now. What does that feel like on an internal level? And how have you felt that shift in your body physically?
It's lighter, definitely lighter. It feels confident. It feels happy. I think lighter is the biggest description of that.
Versus what was it before when you used to have feelings of guilt or like, I can't charge that amount? What were the feelings then?
Yeah, heavy. Heavy's the biggest thing, or almost like scattered, like not, I use the word now for myself, being in alignment, you know what I mean? And so before I just felt scattered and questioning, and now I feel more sure, in alignment and light.
Yeah, I really resonate with that. And I agree that breathwork has totally helped me in shifting that. I also know the first time I made a big payment into myself, it was like I felt this like, woo, like inside of me, where it was like already changing. And it's kind of like an oh crap moment mixed with a like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this, right? Like I actually can do this. It's like a half oh crap, and it's like a half I have a new belief.
Yeah.
I don't know if you resonate with that at all. And every single time I've done that, and then every single time I've watched other people come and invest into me too, it's the same, right? And it just keeps growing and it just keeps growing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that resonates with you or if you've experienced that at all.
Oh yeah. And I'd say my clients too, my business coaching clients that invest in themselves, same thing, right? It's like this, it'll be even before we start coaching together, they'll be like, I attracted 3 new clients. I increased my prices because it felt right. Or I took a weekend off with my husband and it felt amazing. And we didn't even start coaching yet.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah.
And isn't it funny how the more your prices have gone up, the more you've seen that happen with people?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. With 100% certainty.
Like they're already getting results before you even have your first call because you have a higher price.
Yes.
Why do you think that is? I know we've chatted about this before.
Well, it's a bigger hell yes, right? It's like it's a just bigger thing, a bigger investment. I don't know. What do you feel about it?
I feel it challenges a lot more of their shitty beliefs that have been running the show. And when you do that big of a step or that big of a jump, you automatically start to dismantle those inner beliefs that have said things like, I could never pay that much for this. I could never, right? Like, I'm not that type of person. I couldn't go into that type of a store, right? Like you start to automatically dismantle these things that have been there that you weren't conscious of, but that have been showing up and running the show. And because those start to dismantle, you begin to treat yourself better, right? You begin to, take a weekend off to spend with your husband. You begin to realize that you can let other people pay you more, right? And you raise your prices, right? So it's like an equal exchange that I've seen, that I've experienced myself personally. I know when we first started paying for our marriage coach, I had never paid that amount of money to a coach before. And just 1 year before that, I was like, there's no way we could ever pay that a month, like to a coach. Right. And I'm not surprised that 3 months later, I bought my first pair of Louboutins, which I never would have let myself buy before. Right. Because now I realized, hey, I can actually pay that amount of money. I can make it. Oh my gosh, this actually is working. Oh my gosh, it's actually right. Like the worst case scenario isn't coming true. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I can allow myself to believe more in other areas too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about maybe the biggest struggle you had that first year of business. I mean, it sounds like you had a killer first month, but I'm guessing not every single month that followed was just like that. Yeah. So maybe walk us through when things weren't looking so good, or when you were having a lot of self-doubt, or when you were like, oh my gosh, can I actually really do this? What was that for you? And how did you end up pushing through?
Yeah. I mean, having that much success really in the first month really set the bar high. But I had this belief. I remember towards the end of 2020, I'd been like 5 months in my business and I had my lowest month yet. And I think it was like $27,000. And I don't know if you resonate with this or your audience does, but like, oh shit, the shoe's dropping now. Like I had success for 3 or 4 months and now it's all going to stop.
Yep. It's going to dry up.
It's going to dry up. People are going to stop coming. And I see that with my coaching clients all the time. And I know for me that did happen, but it's almost like when that happens, there's a reason. Like there's a universal reason why things are slowing down. And so now for myself, I can like look at that and say, okay, why is this happening? Like, why is it a lower revenue month? Or why is this client that felt really aligned saying no? Or why is this investor not investing in gut personal? I can look at it neutrally, more so now. But the biggest rock bottom for me, one of the biggest things that happened to me that I learned so much from was I invested in the mastermind that we're both in with Chris Harder. And to even invest, to even get on the phone with him was like a big old pep talk because I knew I would be the newest person in business in the room. Turns out I was also the youngest person in the room and my business was the newest. And I had just made it in. I had just made, the monthly amount that you needed to make it in. And so all of these things came to fruition. And I call the subconscious like the biatch in the back, right? Like she was screaming at me, but I pushed through and I said, no, I'm taking this step because I was going to join in 2022. And my question to myself, and a question when I'm making a lot of investments is, am I going to regret doing it or am I going to regret not doing that?
100%.
And yeah, it allows you to like push through that fear, right? and think about the outcome. So that was in February. We had our first call. I was the first person called on in the first call. And so all of these things, I'm sure no one remembers that, but I remember that because I was like so imposter syndrome. I never felt imposter syndrome before. And then in March, we had our in-person mastermind. And for the first 2 days, I felt good. You know, we jumped off cliffs, which I had never done and been so afraid of. You and I were in the same group. You know, you were fearless. And I'm like, all right, I suppose I'll be a little fearless as well. And we just had such a blast. But then we got into the classroom. And I remember on the last day feeling so out of place. And I was sitting next to our friend, Natalia, who had just had her first 6-figure month.
Yeah.
In the month before. And I was like, 6 figures. I mean, at this point, the biggest month I had was 55. And I was like, holy cow. And just sitting there, so not in my worth. I hopped on the plane, realized I wanted to start my own mastermind because it was going to be really transformative. For the next 6 months, I, started that mastermind, wildly successful, and then did a lot of inner work. A lot to feel worthy to be in that room, to not only feel worthy, to feel like I was affecting those people around me, like you, in a super positive way. I didn't just want to be there. I wanted to change my friends' lives with just showing up as me. So I did a lot of inner work in the 6 months to then go to the next in-person mastermind and feel so good and so in my worth.
I think imposter syndrome is something that hits everybody at a different point in time. And actually, the first time I invested in myself, I paid $30,000 for a coach and a mastermind. And I already knew going in that I was an imposter because I was showing up to this mastermind being like, I don't even have a business yet, but I know I'm going to start one. And I was like, everybody else in this room already has a business. They've been doing this for years, and it was the best thing because I was getting into a room of people that had already done what I wanted to do. So my belief automatically changed, right? I automatically was expanded and realizing what was possible for me. And I knew that's what would change the game. So I love that you talked about that. You mentioned inner work so that you could overcome that imposter syndrome and show up and change people's lives. What did that look like? What did that inner work look like for you?
Yeah, I think on a conscious level, it was reading a lot of books. You know what I mean? So immersing myself in self-development on a conscious level, and then subconsciously doing breath work, doing hypnosis, meditations. I used a lot of To Be Magnetic, which is from Lacey Phillips, Inner Child, Shadow. I mean, literally did it all. And then also, worked on my relationships and how I felt about those on a conscious level. So there were so many things that I did and I still do that support me a lot.
If you could pick one thing that really shifted some inner self-worth for you, what would the one thing be?
Over the last year and a half, it's definitely got to be the To Be Magnetic, the hypnosis meditation.
I love it. Something you mentioned before, I'm going to go back a little bit. You were talking about low months and, when low months happen, why did this happen? When someone didn't sign up that felt in alignment, why did this happen? I was curious, as you've been able to look at that and ask yourself, why did this happen? What is the answer that has come to you for some of those?
We had so I run a company, The Gut Fix, which is, before it was just Well by Bridget, which was our one-on-one gut health coaching. And then I launched a group program. That's now a separate business where all of my team, so I have another dietitian, they see gut health clients one-on-one. And then we have a group program called The Gut Fix. And so in August of this year, we had a pretty small launch. It was I think we had 7 signups, which was great. We were going to change 7 people's lives, but we have goals of 20.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at that and I felt a little tinge of why did this happen? We had killer messaging. It's been the 3rd time it's been launched. We had less people than the last round. Why did this happen? And I realized it was a gift because it was Jillian, my dietitian who works for me. It was her first time running this group.
Okay.
And it was almost like this pump the brakes type thing.
Yeah.
She needs to ease into this and be in her worth with this program. So that was a really good learning experience.
I've found that when I have months that seem lower or like things are falling away, clients are falling off, it's always preparation for something new that's coming. Like it's always preparation for either new clients at a new level, right? Or maybe a new course or something else that's coming, but you have to make space for something new.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so this year, so that was August. And then I also want to share the exact same thing you're saying. September, we had our lowest month maybe of the year. And, I didn't look at it. Honestly, I hardly knew. Like my online business manager was like, okay, here was our monthly sales. And it was kind of like, that's interesting. That's pretty damn low. And then, so that was in September. It was like a $50,000 month. October was 140,000.
Right.
And it was like this slow down to speed up, in September, I was enjoying life more. I had 2 different masterminds. I was getting ready to host my own mastermind at the beginning of October, and it slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
Really what I think.
And then what happened specifically in October with your business? Like, was this 140,000 from new clients, from another mastermind? Like what?
From one-on-one business coaching clients that came to me very organically. It was mostly my mastermind that I was relaunching to current mastermind members. So yeah, we had our in-person in October, and then half of them re-signed up and paid in full. And it was like easy. I think for me, when I've had the easiest inflow months, sometimes those are the best.
Oh, for sure. And you get to have those easy inflow moments when you have the low month before. And instead of looking at it and freaking out and going, what do I need to do to like make some money? And then you throw something together and try to make some money. You instead trust and relax. And you're like, it's coming. Like, I just need to be still. And then you like let it organically happen in a way where people are like, hey, how can you, like, we want to work with you more. Right? Which feels so much better, but we start to freak out because we can't see it coming down the road. And we're like, I need to make this happen, instead of like, no, it's coming. It's probably right in front of your face. It's probably going to happen with like the same people that are in front of you. It's just not here yet.
Yes. I think trust for me, and it sounds like for you, is so powerful to have in your business. Is like self-trust, trust in the universe or God or whatever you believe in. It's like trust.
Well, it's very feminine. I talk about this, how the feminine is all about the process instead of the outcome. And I was just talking to a client the other day and telling her, a lot of being in your feminine and being in the process is like a pregnancy. You can't rush it. You have zero control over like, I'm going to make this pregnancy happen faster. Like, I'm going to make this baby pop out tomorrow. Right. Like, and when we try to rush the process, we try to rush building a business. We try to rush a course, like whatever it is that we're going to monetize or bring in people through. That is when we get like this half-baked baby, right? Which like nobody wants like the half-baked baby, right? They want like the full term, like healthy, right? All of the things, baby. And I'm not saying that lighthearted because I know people go through really hard things with childbirth and children, but I'm saying it in the context of a metaphor. When it comes to a business, you want the full term organic, right? Like came together perfectly, and we can force things, but it never quite works out as well. It doesn't feel as good. It doesn't bring what it could bring. And so learning how to enjoy that process and be in the pregnancy and like let it all come to fruition at the right time is what we're talking about right here.
Yeah. Wow. That is such a great metaphor for what I'm going through right now. And it's so interesting, on social media, we have, I don't know if you feel this way, but like we have beliefs about people around us, and people around us have beliefs about us and what's going on in our life. And one of my clients in my mastermind, I love this story. We were at our in-person retreat, and she said, Bridget, the amount that you do makes me nauseous. Like, you do so much. You are running 3 different companies. And if I could explain that metaphor, which you just explained, of like letting things come to you and organically, like my supplement company has been an idea for 6 years. And it just so happened that in the last 6 months, I was connected with the perfect people to bring it to life. And, so there are a lot of changes, but some people's like experience in their life or what they're ready for or what's going to come fruition is going to look different than yours. So like, don't get into comparisonitis. And I said to her, don't compare yourself to me because you don't know what's going on. Like, I've hired so many people to get the work done that you're thinking I'm doing myself.
Correct.
So, it wasn't helpful to her to think that I was doing it all on my own, because that's simply not true.
Yeah.
So like knowing what space you're in, what season you're in is really important.
Yep. And trusting the gestation process.
Yeah. Exactly.
So tell everybody like where they can find you, how they can work with you, all the things.
Yes. So our latest venture is our gut health supplement company. It's called Gut Personal. We're truly disrupting the gut health supplement space and changing how people feel in their bodies, really with their gut. And I've been working with clients one-on-one for 6 years. And I know that if you have gut issues, your doctors, your girlfriend's answer of take a probiotic does not work. So I developed a quiz that helps personalize these supplements for you. And if you go to gutpersonal.com, you'll probably put the link below. But there's a quiz. And so take that quiz, get your answers of if you don't feel well in your gut or you want to optimize your health, start with your gut. And I know you have a discount code too, so people can use that. Yeah. And come follow along there. And yeah, I would love to connect with you at Well by Bridget as well.
One last question I ask all of my guests who come on the show is, if you could go back and talk to that version of you that was in your rock bottom moment, what would you tell her?
You've got this. Call your shot, girl. And I did. So I would tell her that even more.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your time and your wisdom with us. I'm telling you guys, if you haven't tried her magnesium, you need to, because it's my favorite thing ever. Helps me sleep every night. Peter's taking it too, which is amazing. I love it. And we will see you guys on Instagram. Don't forget, take a screenshot. If you love this episode, you can tag Bridget and I and tell us what you loved and how you're going to start up-leveling your self-worth, because we would love to hear that takeaway from you. Have a beautiful day.